Draw. Welcome. You go.
Welcome to Untap Upkeep. I'm Jason, and I am now seeing the light and going to build a blue deck.
And I'm Nick, and I'm happy that Jason is building blue because he should, because it's a color in Magic, and we should play cards in Magic.
I guess.
Welcome to our podcast. Sorry we've been gone for a little while. It's been kind of a busy, hectic holiday season, but we're here to welcome you into the new year.
We are indeed. Today's flavor text of the day comes from Onslaught. It is Ancestors' Prophet.
We have faced horrors of war and terrors beyond imagining. We will overcome the uncertainties of this new life. Pretty relevant, right?
Yeah.
2021
has got to be good.
Hey, we said it at the same time. All right, let's go. But yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, so today's topic is going to be kind of a look into what we think might happen in 2021.
So we've got a few predictions that we'd like to bring to light.
Yeah, not the card, though.
Not the card.
We're not casting Bring to Light.
All right, so today, since we are starting fresh with 2021 and we haven't had a set come out this year yet, Jason and I would like to make some predictions for the following year. I'm sure you've seen tons of prediction videos or prediction spoilers or whatever on the internet, because that is what the internet and the Magic community...
It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. But we'd like to have a couple of bold statements, some more bold than others, and we'd like to discuss that with you. So one of my predictions is... So I'm sure you all have seen it, and if you haven't, spoiler alert, there is a new Vorinclex being printed on Kaldheim. So my personal prediction is, knowing the lore, that since we are seeing a rise of new Phyrexia, and we are seeing kind of hints in each of the sets for a little while, I'm predicting that either A, they're going to print all 5 or 4, depending on what they do with the lore, Praetors on Kaldheim. Mm-hmm. But if they don't, I'm predicting 1 Praetor per set up until we hit a lore point where New Phyrexia is like a focused main threat, where we have our classic, like, you know, good guys get together and have to fight the oncoming doom kind of storyline.
And I think the Praetors, it's really nice to see the Praetors back, because when they came out, they were really powerful Magic cards. I mean, Elish Norn, Jin-Gitaxias, Sheoldred, Urabrask to a lesser extent, and Vorinclex are really powerful Magic cards.
And they're all still played in Commander as salty cards that everyone hates.
Ridiculous things, and to see them back, it's going to be really cool. And looking at this Vorinclex, it's not going to be as powerful as the old Vorinclex. I don't think that was the point, but it's still going to be a really cool card.
It still has that nice flavor of survival of the fittest kind of play style and character design for Vorinclex, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the rest of them. My other prediction here with New Phyrexia stuff is if we don't get the old Praetors, we're going to see some new ones. Like, for example, there's a possibility that, I don't know, Urabrask might get offed. You know, Urabrask might be killed, or might be out of the lore, or deconstructed, or whatever they end up writing in. But we don't know what happened to Koth. Koth might be dead. Koth might be a new Phyrexian planeswalker. He might have had his spark taken away and just be a new Phyrexian. That would be awesome to see a new Koth, not only just as a new character, like a new character as in like a reborn design, but also as a villain.
And I also think it'd be interesting just to see Koth back in the lore at some point, because I feel like there's a lot of newer Magic players who don't even know Koth exists.
Yeah, Koth is kind of one of those things where back in the day he was a pretty important character, but I mean, he doesn't have that many cards, and he was referenced on a few, but like, I feel like he's one of those planeswalkers that you see, because they did that a lot in the back in the day, where they'd introduce a planeswalker, they'd have a few sets with him, and then they just phase out of existence, and it's like they never existed. And the only reason why we have a lot of like emphasis on some of the planeswalkers today is because of stuff like War of the Spark, where we saw a revisiting of a lot of planeswalkers.
So yeah, I think the next sets will be very telling about what direction we're going lore-wise, and it's just going to lead to some really sick Magic cards.
Oh yeah, and I mean, possibly degenerate, but we'll see.
Do you think we'll see an Atraxa?
I don't know if they'd ever print a card like Atraxa into Standard, though.
That's fair. But if it's 4 colors, then it's balanced.
Quote-unquote balanced.
Yeah.
But another prediction I have is that they've been leading up to this, and I don't know if they're going to do it, but what I think would be really cool is like a League of Villains kind of thing. I mean, we haven't really, like, for example, we saw Tezzeret with Nicol Bolas and like that kind of stuff, but we haven't had like an actual like band of villains from multiple planes in a very long time, if ever.
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, I don't think we've seen that reflected directly in a Magic set yet.
Neither do I.
And I could be wrong. Prove me wrong in the comments. I mean, if I'm wrong, definitely enlighten me, because I love lore. But it'd be really cool because we've seen, like, for example, we saw Ashiok on Theros, and we saw that Ashiok now has knowledge of new Phyrexia and, like, Phyrexian oil and stuff through or just Phyrexians in general from Elspeth's memory. And we have, what's the red planeswalker from Ikoria? What's his name?
Put me on the spot.
It starts with an L.
Luca,
yeah. Luca. We've seen Luca as a character, and Luca is like a character who's very... I don't have a word for it. I just have to say that he's interesting and he's very driven.
He's flavorful.
And I see, like, Luca isn't, like, a true villain, but he definitely has, like, a character designed that has a possibility for villainous tendencies. So I can see him being swayed into this kind of curiosity. And then we have characters like, of course, Tybalt, who we know is going to be on Kaldheim and is projected to be the one to open the gate to New Phyrexia. So it's kind of cool to see Tybalt with actually some power.
Tybalt's going to wreck some stuff.
Even if the card's bad flavor-wise, he actually kind of has a lot more power than just being a joke. Or terrorizing Chandra. You know, one of the two. But we just have had some setup. And if the spoilers, like the leaks, are true, then we have Oko too. As much as y'all don't want to see Oko.
No more Oko.
Oko could have a hand in this, good or bad. We don't know.
We're getting Kaya.
Kaya's going to be good, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we're getting a lot of those kinds of things, and I'm really excited to see how they intertwine, because they are setting up for a greater narrative that ultimately could come into a literal clash of the band of good guys and the league of bad guys. And that could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then I guess my next one is, and I'm sure this one's really obvious, is that Innistrad is going to be the set that has new Phyrexian, like actual new Phyrexian cards on it, rather than just Praetors and like hints or like 1 or 2 cards. I think it's going to be the set that has them, because as people have talked about the different kinds of horror on Innistrad, we've seen 2 different kinds. First being just original Innistrad, and then second having a lot of Eldrazi and that kind of stuff. So it would make sense that a third Innistrad set would have something along the lines of new Phyrexians.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see from a gameplay perspective how they handle Phyrexian, because they've kind of botched it in the past. We agree that Phyrexian mana was kind of one of Magic the Gathering's failures.
Phyrexian cards, historically, as just a universal statement, have been really strong. And Phyrexians as a threat, lore-wise, are pretty large. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that they'd have powerful cards. But, you know, we've seen Phyrexian Obliterator, Phyrexian Dreadnought. I mean, we've seen all the Yawgmoth cards, but Yawgmoth is gone. We've seen the Praetors. We've seen Phyrexian Mana. We've seen all sorts of these absolutely disgusting cards that were either printed them on their own and were just good, or reprints of older effects with Phyrexian Mana that just made them way too strong.
And so I'm intrigued to see, because I feel like they said they were never going to print Phyrexian Mana again,
or at least on the Storm scale, it was pretty high up there.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to see if they at least wanted to touch on it, but maybe in a more balanced way, like make cards that are bad with Phyrexian mana, or like just more balanced cards that have Phyrexian mana in it, or at least like one or two. Like, it doesn't have to be like set centric.
And the thing is that they did, even after saying that they wouldn't print any Phyrexian mana, the thing is that may be what they said, but they did print Crick or Keurig or however you want to pronounce it.
That is true.
They did print that, and it did have triple Phyrexian black. So chances are it's probably not off the table entirely, but I don't think they're ever going to do a mass cycle of Phyrexian
It has
cards.
to be tasteful.
It has to be tasteful. It has to be super flavorful. It might be just on effects. Like, I don't think Norn's Annex was busted.
No, and yes and no. It's busted in the fact that your opponents, if they're not playing white, have to pay life to attack you, which is really hard sometimes.
Yeah, but also if you think about the effect, it's 3. If you pay Phyrexian, it's 4 mana and it's 4 life and 3 mana. Ghostly Prison is just 3 mana.
Yeah, that's fair.
And yeah, it does hard lock if they're at like 2 life, but not all decks win off of combat.
That's true.
And sometimes, if you're playing against a mono green stompy deck, sometimes they're at 4 life, they pay 2, they swing at you for 15, you die.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I think Phyrexian mana would be interesting to have in like standard
current standard.
Yeah. It would be interesting to have, but I'm very hesitant to say that I want to see it just because I don't want it to break the format.
Same. I think that it would be kind of cool to see like some form of Phyrexian mana, not necessarily the same way we've seen it. Like, for example, if there was a colorless Phyrexian mana, just like a card that
so you pay one of any color or 2 life.
No, like you pay colorless or you pay 2 life. Like,
like specifically colorless.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it has like a high cost.
That'd be
right?
Interesting.
So to play into like the artifact theme of what Phyrexians are, that could be interesting. So that it is a steep cost and then it's hard to cast on its own, but then have it be a decently good card so that you do have to build around it for it to be playable.
I'd be interested in that.
Or like if there were a Phyrexian Planeswalker, finding ways to fit Phyrexian mana into a Planeswalker would be kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's a really rough spot to be in because, yes, from a flavor point of view, I would love Phyrexian mana. From a gameplay point of view, no thank you.
Agreed. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, another thing I wanted to look at is potentially we saw Commander Legends Green come out, a couple months ago, 1 month ago, was when it was able
just
to be
about,
ordered.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see if Wizards is going to go up the color pie and build Commander Legends Red. And so I was kind of brainstorming, not red color. Brainstorm's not a red spell.
Red brainstorm, let's go.
Kind of what cards they were thinking in. I think kind of top of the list for me and what they would put in Commander Legends Red is Perforos. I feel like Perforos is kind of a heavy hitter.
What about Valakut?
Valakut definitely could go in there. But the thing is, they didn't print any lands in Commander Legends Green.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they can't.
Yeah. But I'm just kind of basing it off of kind of the format. Because they put Command Tower and Soul Ring. And so you get like a red
You're
Soul
probably
Ring,
going to get both.
which would be really cool. Gamble. I think Gamble would be a really good card to put in there. Because it hasn't been printed a lot from what I've seen.
I wouldn't doubt Faithless Looting, to be fair.
Yeah, Faithless Looting. I was thinking Blood Moon, too.
Yeah, I can see Blood Moon.
Because of all the enchantments in red, there's really not that many like high power enchantments in red, except for like Warpstorm Surge Sunbirds. But even then, like those pale in comparison to what Blood Moon can do for red players.
Mm-hmm.
Planeswalkers, any of the Chandras, Koth. Get Koth back in there again.
Oh, definitely not.
You just reprint my Koth the Hammer. This seems a little far-fetched to me, but I was looking at Reddit and Dockside Extortionist came up.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. If they did, it would make sense.
Because it's a staple, but is it too soon? Because they just printed it in the last,
Yeah, but it's been a year now.
Yeah.
And the thing is by the time that this releases, it's going to be the end of this year, which means that it's going to be almost 2 years. So I can see it.
So I think it'd be fun to see some of those cards. And do you have any other things you're thinking of?
Well, I don't think they're going to print anything that came out in the Spellbook Chandra.
Yeah.
So no red elemental, like Pyroblast / red elemental blast effect.
Maybe no Chandras then.
No Chandras, probably. I don't see Past in Flames. coming out.
Maybe a Braid of Fire?
Maybe. I don't think so. But I think it's going to be tough if they do red, because they did just do the Chandra one pretty recently. But I think that there are enough red cards that are worth reprinting.
Yeah. And so I think what you saw with Commander Collection Green is Wizards tried to print in a lot of cards that haven't been reprinted in a while.
That people would be kind of excited to see.
So you got your Worldly Tutor and your Sylvan Library and Frailes, which was only printed in that one pre-con.
You've also got Seedborn Muse.
Yeah, and so those cards are cards that's like, I'm playing green. Heck, I'd throw that into any green.
If I bought this set, I could play these cards right now.
Exactly. And so I think there, with every color, obviously, there's cards that can do this. And so I know it was a mixed reaction when green came out, especially the foil one. People did not like the foil one.
It was a little expensive.
But I would like to see it again, and just because it's nice to get more staples out in the format, because it makes the game more affordable for everybody else.
Especially since they did start with green, and green is kind of a strong color.
Yeah, green has a lot of good cards.
If you watch the EDH Rec cast, they did talk about like color statistics. I actually saw this today, and green actually is the third most played color, surprisingly enough.
Behind blue and
yes.
Black.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blue is number 1, black is number 2, green is number 3, red is number 4, and white's number 5, which makes sense. But it's interesting that they started with green, because I would say green in Commander is just an overall strong color, because you add anything to it, and it has access to removal, and it has access to ramp, and card draw. So I think that they started with green because it was a safe bet. Because if you start with blue and you don't print the expensive blue cards, then it's like, oh, I'm just getting a bunch of crap that, I could just run negate instead.
Mm-hmm. And another thing is that the cards they printed were relatively simple to play. They didn't print, well, I guess Sylvan Library, not really. I guess I take that back. But it's like, it's cards that...
If you play Commander, you know what Sylvan Library is.
Yeah, well, and if I was new to Commander, I could figure it out.
Yeah. And that's where I'm kind of interested to see what Jason's talking about, where if they do a red one, it's a question on what's the limit here? Because, I mean, if you think about value-wise, I wouldn't say that it was absolutely the best value set possible. You're pretty much getting your money's worth, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a Sylvan Library, it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool, I can get myself a Sylvan Library.
And all these cool cards.
And all these other cool cards. But if you do have one, then these products really aren't for you.
Yeah.
So it's a question on, the only red card I can think of that, like, I would love to see is a card we'll never see in the set, and it's Wheel of Fortune, because it's on the reserve list. And that's the thing that's kind of difficult.
And all the cards like Wheel of Fortune, right? It's like, there's no, like, the Miracle one, Reforge the Soul. It's like...
It's cheap.
And it's like, I don't need that card. Like, it's not like a staple in the format.
I'm not going to pay 6 mana for that.
Exactly.
Like, Wheel of Fortune, I will pay 3 for it, and any deck I run, like, I could throw it in and have it be okay. But, like, I'm not going to play Reforge the Soul. And so that's where kind of the struggle comes in with that, and I'm kind of intrigued, because there's a lot of ways that could mess it up, but there's also a lot of ways that could make it really good, with, like, Blood Moon and, like, Perforos, Valakut, that kind of stuff.
Do it, Wizards. If
they were to do what I'm predicting on that, because my personal opinion on it is that they wouldn't do red because they did Chandra, because the spellbook format, they've only done a few. They started with Jace, which is blue, then they did Gideon, which is white, so they're not following Color Pie, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I do think Jason would be correct that they'd be ditching the Planeswalker ones, but if they keep with the pattern, then they have blue, white, red, and green. So my prediction is black. And if they did black, then you'd have to reprint stuff like, I don't know. Dictate.
Living Death.
Yeah.
Maybe no, because that's...
Because there are a lot of good black expensive cards, but there's so many that it'd be really hard to, like, pinpoint, oh, these are the 5. Damnation.
Yeah, Damnation would be a good one to reprint.
But
Is Animate Dead on the reserve list?
I don't think so.
I would like to see an Animate Dead reprint. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so all in all, I think that they're definitely going to keep exploring this product line. I think it is going to do really well. We don't have enough, we haven't seen enough of Commander Green to really have like a definite answer on this, but I don't see why they would abandon it.
Yeah. And so I'm curious to see where Wizard goes, because there's also reasons just not to do it, because there was mixed reviews. And so it's not something where like the Commander precons or the Commander anthologies where people are like, we want more. It's kind of like,
oh, cool.
Like, I might buy it if it has the stuff I want.
It's a situational product, not for everyone. And that's okay, too. Like, there's mixed feelings on products that are not made for everyone. And I totally get that. I totally get why that's, like, a feeling that people have. But I think they did say it is the year of Commander.
Yeah.
And for them to make a Commander spellbook makes sense to me. So, who knows? Maybe they won't do a Commander one next year. Maybe they'll just do a Planeswalker one again. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Do you have any other predictions?
That 2021 is going to have 0 banned cards in Standard. I actually mean that. I think Wizards is gonna get their act together.
Do you mean 0 banned cards from new sets or 0 banned cards in general?
In new sets in Standard.
Okay, because I was going to say, there's a lot of cards in Standard that could get banned if they release something good.
Yeah, but I think after the whole Oko incident and the whole, like, Once Upon a Time,
Omnath, Uros, Growth Spiral, Fires of Invention. Though I actually really liked Fires of Invention.
I think Wizards is going to tone down their craziness a little bit. We'll see, because I'm definitely could be wrong.
I disagree with you, because you know what they say? Powerful cards make a lot of money.
That is fair.
And Wizards is a company. They want to make money. So
I'm hopeful.
And also it's a question on in what format are they powerful?
Because the thing is, Standard is I'm not even arguing. Standard is a dumpster fire right now. People have been leaving Standard to play Historic and to play Modern and to play Pioneer because Standard is such a bad format right now. And I think Wizards is recognizing that. And so if they want people to keep buying new sets as opposed to just building Pioneer decks and Modern decks, they have to make it balanced, but they still have to make it appealing. And so I think if they just keep kind of building these sets where there's obviously one strong deck, I think that's going to make people leave Standard and maybe even make people stop playing Magic altogether.
Long story short, they just need to print cards that are powerful and not green or blue.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Clerics might be a hit.
Or Angels.
Yeah.
Or
we'll see what Kaldheim does.
Yeah. And then this one's kind of a no-brainer. But I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot, as in more than 10 old characters in this coming year, as new cards, or characters that haven't gotten cards before. Reason why I say this is because we got Tevish Zot and Jessica in Commander Legends,
and we already have a couple new Planeswalkers in Kaldheim too.
I say this because we got original Modern Horizons before. Modern Horizons had Yawgmoth as a human, and it had Urza, of course, in his prime.
Yeah.
And, of course, like I mentioned, we got Jessica and we got Tevish Zot. So I'm super excited to see Planeswalkers or characters that we haven't had printed as a card before.
Dak Fade in reprint?
Doesn't make any sense. But like from the old days, like from the pre-mending days, there'd be some really... There are, like, for example, there's a lot of cards from the Nine Titans that we've never had cards for. Or there's like virtually nothing in card form that really explains what a character does. I mean, they might be quoted on flavor text, but there's nothing that explicitly goes, oh yes, this is a Planeswalker from the olden days that actually had this power here. Like, for example, with our playgroup, I've actually been working on a custom designed card, and I'm running it past my playgroup.
It's spice.
Yeah, and if we do end up actually playing it, I will let you guys know how it goes. But right now, I'm not going to disclose what it is. But we're also getting a time spiral too.
That's going to be really cool. I'm excited for that one.
And that may also have some spicy cards of like characters that we haven't seen cards for. And because of those two sets being the two supplemental sets that we know of, both of them being sets that definitely do callbacks to the past, there's going to be some really cool designs coming out.
Yeah. I think that is kind of a spot-on estimate. I think 10 or more. I also think that Magic kind of just... or not Magic, but Wizards has kind of realized, like, we like old stuff. So, yeah. I think Wizards realizes that we like old stuff, and, like, kind of going back to a new card and seeing, like, a new card from an old plane is just, like, that really gets us going.
Like Ren and 6.
That was so... yeah.
Like, flavor-wise, awesome. Character-wise, awesome.
Strength-wise, awesome.
Unfortunately. I don't know, because they had a lot of design space in Commander Legends to print old characters, and they did. They printed a ton of old characters in Commander Legends, and there were a ton of cards that they also didn't include, and they've actually like explained what they were or who they were, etc. And those designs, I feel like they wouldn't design that many cards and then just have them go to waste.
Yeah.
So either they're going to make it into like a Commander Legends 2 if they ever do that, or they're just going to kind of squeeze them in to other sets. And I'm really excited for that.
And Wizards is really good about that.
Yeah. And the last thing I'd like to bring up, though, and it's more of a question for you guys if you're willing to participate in this.
Answer us.
How do you think they're going to handle the fact that they've mentioned Innistrad as two sets, technically? Because they said Innistrad Vampires and Innistrad Werewolves. I feel like they wouldn't release two different sets simultaneously because that's a little bit predatory.
It's also just chaos.
Yeah.
It would confuse like new players.
But I also feel like they wouldn't release a set where it is two different packs in the same box, because then what's going to happen is one of the packs is going to have a chase card in it that everyone's going to want, and the other set's not going to sell. And so you get people buying half of a box.
That's fair.
So is it that they're using the names as a way to highlight two design features of one set? Or is it going to be two completely separate staggered sets that they're just going to release closer together? Or, because we know that they're code names. There's not an official...
It's not called Innistrad Vampires.
Or at least I hope it's not, because that's kind of a lame name.
Yeah.
Because, there's vampires on Innistrad? I had no idea.
Hey, let's crack a pack of vampires.
Let's crack a pack of werewolves.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just too... Design space-wise, they can do way better than that. So we know, I'm like 90% sure that it's a code name, and if it's not, I'm going to be very disappointed. But, like, what do you think's going to do... How do you think they're going to handle that? Especially for pre-release.
Yeah, I don't know. I think personally it's probably just two sets that are going to be closer together. But, because I think just the logistical nightmare of releasing two sets at the same time is kind of annoying.
Do you think they're ever going to go back to block? Like a block set?
Maybe this is it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a hint that they're starting blocks again.
Yeah.
And blocks would be kind of cool, flavor-wise. I know for standard it would kind of screw things up a little bit, but... Because I don't think they'll ever go to block format for standard again.
We'll see.
But I think design-wise, for, like, planes, I think it'd be cool to have like, for example, we had Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, and it was kind of cool to have two sets that are on the same plane and have similar themes, But as of recent years, we haven't gotten that for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me backtrack a little bit. We did get that. We got Ravnica.
That's true. We did get Ravnica block.
But are they going to do that again?
I think they are. I think that's what this is.
So, anyways, that's my closing thought on our predictions for 2021. Let us know what you think is coming in 2021. And, yeah. And if you also feel free to come back to this video, and at the end of the year or throughout the year and see how wrong we were.
We sucked.
We probably did. But, at least it's the thought that counts.
It'll be fun.
I sure hope so. I sure hope this year is this. Honestly, 2020, excluding a few very blatantly obvious mistakes that I'm not going to list, was a pretty fun year for Magic, in my opinion, excluding Standard.
Yeah.
Because we got like Chandra's Incinerator for Modern. We got a ton of really cool Commander product because way too much, in my opinion.
Nah.
They pushed it a little bit too hard.
Give me more Wizards.
But other than that, like, there's only more to come. I don't know, like, obviously Commander's been a big selling point for them as of recent, but they didn't announce 2021 as a Commander-centric year.
Yeah.
So, I'm not quite sure where they're going with this. But we're going into the start of a new era.
Better horizons are in front of us, guys. You made it through 2020.
Is that your other prediction, that Modern Horizons 2 is going to be better Horizons?
I don't think anything would be better. Modern Horizons 1 was pretty freaking good.
But anyways, yeah, feel free to check us out on Spotify if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on any of our audio outlets, such as Spotify or
Anchor.
Feel free to check out our YouTube channel and subscribe, hit the bell, get our notifications, any of that kind of stuff. We'd love to hear from you.
2021 is the year we get this podcast off the ground.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for you guys to make me eat that bacon to a pie. I'm not gonna let that go.
I will make 100 fake accounts just to make you eat a bacon to a pie.
I'm gonna be so disappointed if you have to do that. But yeah, we also have an Instagram that we've been trying to be active on. Of course, not recently because of holiday season. It's been really hectic for everyone, I'm sure.
And we have a Twitter. We've been interacting a lot with other content creators in the Magic the Gathering community. So feel free to check out our Twitter, see some other creators, see us, and have some laughs.
See us go.
No.
Video game references. Anyways, we'll talk to you next time on
Untap
Upkeep.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.